Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us on this fabulous day here in the city of New York. I have some incredible people who've joined us today. Let me check who we have here. First of all, a great friend and ally and a tireless voice for her district in Albany, and that is our Senator Liz Krueger. Senator Krueger, thank you for coming here. We also are joined by Senator Leroy Comrie. Senator Comrie, great fighter for the people of Queens, Jamaica. Thank you. Senator Anna Kaplan, these are all fighters. Just don't fight me. Senator Kaplan, Senator John Brooks coming in. Thank you for coming in from Long Island as well. Assembly Member Richard Gottfried, I want to thank you for joining us here and some of the bill signings or some of your legislation. I'm really happy to be seeing you here today as well. Tom Wright, the President and CEO of the Regional Plan Association. Tom, you'll be hearing from Tom in a couple minutes. Jano Lieber, the Acting Chair and CEO of the MTA. Let's give a huge round of applause. Jano Lieber. Kathy Hochul, the President and CEO of Partnership for New York City, amazing advocate for our business community. I want to thank Kathy for joining us here today. Daniel Biederman, the President of the 34th Street Partnership, is here. Daniel Biederman, thanks for being here. Hope Knight, the President and CEO of Greater Jamaica Development Corporation and our nominee for President and CEO of Empire State Development Corporation. Hope. Thank you for saying yes, Hope. I appreciate that. Carlos Chisora, the President and CEO of the New York Building Congress, is here. Candice Devalier is here, the Vice President and Political Director of 32BJ SEIU. Thank you for all your support. Elizabeth Goldstein, the President of the Municipal Art Society of New York, is here. So thank you all for coming. This day has been a long time in coming. And I believe that we have the opportunity here to reimagine the entire future of Penn Station and the neighborhood. And we know that this area is the beating heart of our city. Everybody knows Penn Station, whether you live here, whether you've been a visitor. It is the busiest transit hub in North America, in the Western Hemisphere. More people use Penn Station than all three airports combined. Pre-COVID, 600,000 people traveled through Penn Station every single day. But by 2038, our predictions tell us that that number will increase to 890,000 people coming through the exact same footprint. Yeah, that's a scary thought, right? Penn Station is the crossroads of New York where locals, commuters, and visitors converge. It fuels economic activity and jobs. And I believe that our post-COVID recovery hinges in large part on what we do next with infrastructure and economic development activity and to re-energize projects that should have occurred a long time ago. When I first took office, I knew there were plans, a lot of concerns about a plan that would already been announced. There were plans from the local community. I come out of local government. I am hardwired to be responsible to local community desires and needs because those are the people who live there. This is their neighborhood. What we do affects them the most. They need to be heard. And I told my team, take a harder look at this plan. What can we do differently than what has already been recommended, proposed, or dictated to be happening under the past administration? So I said, let's talk to the community. Let's focus on New Yorkers' priorities. And I was focused on two priorities. They're very simple. New Yorkers deserve a world-class transportation system, and it should have a world-class facility with Penn Station. This community deserves it. The people who live there deserve it. And what I'm going to talk about is what my team found, our team working with MTA and Jano Lieber and his incredible team, what we found that we can do. We found the answer. We found the possibilities, and I'm very excited. So we know how important mass transit is. It links us to jobs. It links us to our families. It links us to healthcare sometimes, educational opportunities. We know it connects people. And I said, we've done a lot. You know, the Moynihan Station, it's beautiful. Named after someone I was honored to work for, Senator Daniel Patrick Moynihan. It's beautiful, but it primarily serves Amtrak riders. So people coming from out of town, passing through, stopping here, maybe visiting for a couple days, going back where they came from, they have a beautiful building to experience. I'm proud of that. That's really nice. Projects like the Oculus and the new Port Authority bus terminal, which we'll do, mostly bring out-of-staters to New York City. All very nice. Wonderful for them. But Gateway and Penn expansion, yes, are both projects I fully support and we'll get them done. But they're primarily for Amtrak and New Jersey transit riders, right? So who are we serving with all these? Yes, it's good to do this. We're getting it done. But the existing Penn Station serves New Yorkers. 60% of the people who use Penn Station are New Yorkers. They're our taxpayers. They're our citizens. And so, given that they're the ones using it, I believe that they deserve a transformative experience as well. And that's why we're going to start focusing on the existing Penn Station. This is my priority, and I believe it's the priority of New Yorkers. So, a radical thought, but now we're putting New Yorkers first. We are prioritizing our commuters, and we know how hard it is to be a commuter in this area. Your daily commute should not be a daily grind, whether you're coming in from Brooklyn, Manhattan, Queens, Long Island, and soon with Penn Access, this is great, commuters from the Bronx and Westchester will also be able to come into Penn on Metro North. We'll get that all done. But the pandemic has taught us a lot of lessons. One is that we value our time with our families more than ever. We treasure this. For many people, they lost connection with family, and many of them lost family members. So I believe that this post-pandemic world, which we are shaping now, has to focus more on quality of life issues and giving people time with families and loved ones and not having to deal with a commute that's longer than necessary or a commute that drops them into a place that is depressing. That's how simple this is in my mind. We know that with the Penn Access, East Side Access, we'll cut down the commute time by 50 minutes from the East Bronx, giving people time back for their families. That allows a mom a little extra time to pack the kids' lunches, get on the train, maybe even catch some of the kids' after-school activities at the end of the day. These are things that are sacrificed now because of the time spent commuting. You know, I just rode the inaugural ride. Jan and I were there with our boots on at 7 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday morning, and we wanted to experience that first ride. Now, I was also, why am I the guinea pig here? What if something goes wrong? But it was a wonderful ride. I didn't wonder about that at all, more than a second. But we succeeded. We got there safely, and I can confirm that this is going to be an experience that will have a wow factor just about a year, a little more than a year from now when that is open to the public. That is literally going to save people 40 minutes. What can you do with 40 minutes? That's a lot of time back in your life. It's a lot of time back in your life that right now is sacrificed trying to get to your jobs. So improving the quality of life for New Yorkers is my top priority. So let's look at what we're dealing with now. You know, you think about where I just came in from. I was in Ronkonkoma, looking at a spectacular project, transit-oriented development right at the train station, making up for a lot of mistakes that have been done over the last few generations. I think about a woman there this morning. She gets up, crack of dawn. She wakes up in the dark. Like I said, packs the lunches, gets on the train. A long time later, she emerges in Penn Station. And what does she experience? Darkness, depression, a crowded situation. Then she goes to her office. And I don't know what her environment like. She's an office cleaner downtown or works at a hotel or works in one of our buildings. Whatever that experience is, she wraps up her day by going back into darkness, back into a tunnel, back into a depressing situation, gets on that train, has a long ride back, and she does it all over again the next day. Those are the people that I'm thinking about when we come up with transformational ideas. So it's dark, it's cramped, it's like a cavern, it's uncomfortable, there's no natural light, ceilings as low as 7 feet, narrow passageways, and there aren't even enough ways to get down to the track level, if you can find them. I've gotten lost there. I've lost a daughter there. Luckily, I found her. We got her back. But it is so depressing. It was built in 1968. And, you know, we all talk about when Vice President Joe Biden spoke of LaGuardia, calling it what you'd experience in a third world country. I don't need a president or vice president to tell me that this is not a first world or 21st century experience right now, what our New Yorkers are having to endure, and we can change that. So, these are depressing pictures. It's confusing, it's cramped, it's crowded. There's not enough stairs, there's not enough escalators, there's not enough elevators to the track level. Today, we're talking about bringing sunshine, happiness to New Yorkers who say they deserve better. Instead of looking downward, everybody looks down when they're in Penn Station. I want them to look upward. I want them to experience light. I want them to experience an uplifting feeling that they're not getting right now. It's a new day, my friends, and it's time for a new Penn Station. New Yorkers riding the Long Island Railroad, our subway, and our soon-to-be finished Metro North deserve to have world-class transportation, just like Moynihan, just like Grand Central. It's time for a Penn Station worthy of New Yorkers. So our plan will transform the existing station into a single-level train hall. What does that do? First of all, it gives us double circulation on the main boarding level, so you won't be as cramped as you are right now. We're talking sunlight, easier navigation, higher ceilings. We'll add 18 more escalators and stairs going from 73 to 91. We'll make it more accessible for people who need accessibility, people with mobility issues, adding 11 more elevators going from 16 to 27. It will help move the riders off the platforms faster and safer with fewer pinch points and less congestion. So this is what it's going to look like, and I'm going to show you more pictures in a second. Now, this is existing. This existing East Transforce will be transformed. We'll have higher ceilings. We'll be removing the upper level. That's how we're going to do it, this single level. Right now, we can't do this because there's an upper level. So I question, well, what's on the upper level that's so important that I can't blow it up and have sunlight come in? I found out it's possible. There's nothing that we can't move that's on that upper level. That's the rethinking of this whole project. And we'll make sure that that occurs as part of our single level experience, and these caverns will just disappear. This will be an experience from the past. We'll have a single level train hall, and we'll have on the eastern side a huge open space. This will be the size of Moynihan Hall and Grand Central Terminal Great Hall combined. Can you imagine that? The two of them combined into one beautiful space, 450-foot long skylight, longer than Moynihan's, and let the sun shine in. And you can see from over here, it'll be integrated into the new Penn South expansion. We'll have new tracks and platforms connecting the new Hudson Tunnel and where they'll be located. So we're making all those connections now. By eliminating the ceiling on the lower level, we're going to transform the whole experience. And I also want to have, this would be great for people who do this every day, I want there to be a wow factor for people who are visiting for the first time. People who come here have certain expectations of New York City. They decided to come here to visit and bring their family, especially after the pandemic when everybody has been so trapped in their homes and places abroad. We didn't get the 63 million visitors that we're accustomed to in New York City. When people start coming back, when we get this done, I want people to say, wow, when I landed there, when I got to the trains, I got to this Penn Station, it was extraordinary, and they'll tell their friends about this. So on the west side, we'll have more space for circulation. We'll double the height of the ceiling as well. And we're going to make it a more positive, uplifting experience. These are great pictures, but this is a preliminary design. And let's talk about what's around. Currently, trucks are serving events at Madison Square Garden. I've tried to cut through there a few times. It's pretty dangerous. And cars line up on 33rd Street and other surrounding streets. Living around there, it's not fun. Right now, this is a typical experience. I think we can do better than this. A single train hall will allow MSG to move its loading operations inside, taking the trucks off the streets. How fantastic is that for the neighborhood? This will reduce traffic and pollution and the situation of idling trucks creating exhaust. It'll improve the experience for bicyclists and pedestrians, not to have to be jockeying around all the trucks that are there. So that is what the experience will look like. So all told, it'll be a brand new station for New Yorkers. So how long? 4 to 5 years. Cost $6 to $7 billion. And I know costs go up with time. That's why, my friends, I'm approaching this with a sense of urgency. I want this started, and I want it done as soon as possible. And just as we have partners in Gateway, we have to have partners in fixing the existing Penn. And I'm looking forward to bringing together a Penn stakeholder advisory group dedicated to this project to work with the community every step of the way. I want them to feel engaged, that their voices are heard, that when we can, we'll take actions to remedy anything they bring to our attention that we may have overlooked. That's what engagement is all about. It's not a token effort. It's not checking the box that we created an advisory committee, then we did what we want. It's a whole new day in government as well. This will be a meaningful contributor to our process. So, also, what about the neighborhood around Penn? Improving Penn Station means improving the area as well. This is a neighborhood. This is a community, a place where people live, they work, they play, they walk with their kids. It's the home to thousands of New Yorkers. And we need development to fund Penn Station, just as I described. We also need to support our sustainable transit-oriented growth. But I believe that a scaled-down plan can generate the revenue. It does not have to be the scale it is right now. It does not have to be. We can scale it down and still generate the revenue we need to fund the transformation of Penn Station while benefiting the surrounding neighborhood. This community deserves better, and they will get better. So we've listened to the community. Here's some of the things we've done. Lowering the building heights, reducing the density by 1.4 million square feet, building residential units, 1,800, including 540 permanent affordable units, adding space for community and social services, and the exciting part is we'll be creating jobs, something that we need to continue doing as we come through this pandemic. A lot of people are displaced from their current jobs, and we're going to be having over 50,000 good-paying construction jobs as well as permanent jobs. So this will be greener, more sustainable, and transit-oriented commercial growth. All of our buildings will be built to be fully electric to help us go carbon neutral. That's important to me as well. And I believe that this is going to encourage more people when they have a positive experience. It'll encourage more people to leave their cars at home if they're considering riding it, and they'll say, you know what, this is really a spectacular experience. I want to be a transit rider and leave my car at home. That'll help protect our environment as well. We also will be providing services for homeless people in the neighborhood as well, working very closely with the city on a plan to establish that. So we'll make it better connections for the 4 subway stations that connect to Penn. We'll have a lot of underground connections, which is great when it's raining out or snowing or records hurricanes, as we've experienced a few times. And also, these impossibly crowded sidewalks. We can eliminate that by having more entrances, some people underground, some above ground, and just having more diverse crowds spread it out in different places. So we won't have these experiences any longer. We'll be addressing the crowding at the streets and entrances. So a new underground pedestrian concourse will connect Penn all the way to Herald Square, north to 34th Street, and we'll require every single new building there to have new transit entrances. All this connection from buildings, people can pop up, go to their jobs, go back down. They don't have to go out in the elements if they don't want to. It'll be easier, more pleasant to get to your train, more like Grand Central, the way we can do that now. We're doubling the entrances to Penn with 8 in-building entries to Penn, 10 in-building subway entries, 8 new escalators, 2 new elevators, and widened stairways. And also, this is my favorite too, the outdoor space. This feels like New York and the way New York should be. Look at that. The community asked us to prioritize the public space around Penn Station, and we said we will. We're adding 8 new acres of public space. We'll establish a public realm task force modeled after the East Midtown Rezoning Governing Group, which is very effective. They'll develop a plan to prioritize what they want to see in this place as well. And we'll have revenues set aside from the early revenues generated by the new real estate development to fund these community projects. This will not come last, this will come first. And we'll work with the city, as I mentioned, and develop innovative approaches and on-site services for to better serve the homeless population. You getting excited? This looks fun, doesn't it? And back to the streets again. Another problem is car congestion and pollution. What I want to do is shift the focus away from cars. There are places where we need to have cars. We need to drop off people who are taking the train. People with disabilities need to be dropped off. Senior citizens need to get dropped. I get that. But for those more limited cases, we can have a sharing of the street, but also more public space to make it just more inviting and more open and more beautiful. So we're going to widen the sidewalks, build new protected bike lanes, increase bike parking, and create shared streets and slow the car traffic while allowing for pickup or drop off. So you see the streetscapes. I love streetscapes. We'll have, I don't see any benches in these pictures. I love park benches. We'll have the greening of the street. Also just better lighting. When you think about creating a sense of security and safety, brighter lights in a neighborhood when people come out. It gets dark at 4:30 in December. You come out in the darkness. You want to know that you're feeling safe. More light will do that. So have beautiful street lights that'll have accomplished that goal. So we'll be converting the existing streetscape as well. And north of Penn, it'll be a major pedestrian-friendly corridor, going from this to that. That's beautiful. Let's give that a round of applause. I love this picture. Little sparkle in the trees. It's beautiful. This is what we deserve. I mean, this gets me excited when I see products like this, the before and after. And there'll come a time when people never will know what the before was like. Future generations will assume that we always were this visionary. But we're being this visionary this year and right now. And this is why I'm really excited to have the support of all the people here, our elected officials, our community partners, because this is something that we need to do now. 33rd Street will have limited traffic from 6th to 9th, turning the street into a better vista for looking at our beautiful streetscapes. We'll have a greener pedestrian-friendly corridor. Magnificent. And this will be a benefit, again, for the neighbors. People come out of the train, they walk around, get their drink, a cup of coffee, and the neighborhood will really benefit from this as well. So, this is a new way to enhance our skyline with sustainable buildings. It'll lay the groundwork for our continued economic growth for decades. And there's already signs that we're rebounding. We took a big hit. We took a big hit during the pandemic. A lot of people have not yet come back to the Midtown office space. But this is an opportunity to use this time where things are a little bit slower, but I believe they'll come back to begin this work now. And this scaled down project will still generate billions of dollars for us in new revenue to fund our future projects as well. So this will fund the reconstruction, future expansion, as well as the public realm around it. So this will all work. And thank you. So basically, this is going to be a major contributor to creating a more livable city. People want to know what our city is going to be like after the pandemic. This, my friends, is the beginning of what it's going to look like. It's more livable. It's going to focus on New Yorkers. It's going to right the wrongs of the past. Finally, it's going to jumpstart something that should have been done a long time ago. It's forward-looking for decades to come. And we will reimagine the entire New York City living experience and the commuting experience and the working experience with projects like these. And I believe in New York. And I believe that New York can do better. And this is an important step forward. One more thought. Has anybody ever asked the question why we have the largest transit hub in the Western Hemisphere named after a neighboring state? Nobody asks these questions, right? First question on my mind, why is it named Penn Station? There's another sign, Pennsylvania Station. I believe that a new station for New York should be named for a New Yorker or something to do with how iconic New York State is and how amazing it is. So we'll be focusing on this too. So there'll come a time when people will say, I never even heard of Penn Station. This is going to be new, it's exciting, and it's how we're going to bring in a whole new era of excitement, energy, vitality, and let people know that we have the confidence to build now, that future generations, I believe, will appreciate that we did, but certainly the people who live in the state deserve nothing but the best. This will deliver them the best. So thank you very much. And at this point, I'd like Tom Wright, the President and CEO of the Regional Plan Association, to give him some of his reflections on this.
Thank you. Thank you, Governor Hochul, for your leadership on this issue, which is so important to the future of New York and the entire metropolitan region. Regional Plan Association stands by you to advance improvements to Penn Station and build a modern, accessible transit hub for the 21st century as part of this entire larger neighborhood, district, the Gateway Project, everything. As you've said, Penn Station is the largest transit hub in North America, serving as many passengers each day as Kennedy, LaGuardia, and Newark Liberty airports combined. It was built for only about 200,000 daily passengers, but served over 3 times that amount before COVID. And anyone who ventured into it would tell you that it serves them poorly, with cramped corridors, low ceilings, frequent service disruptions, really daily humiliation for the Amtrak, Long Island Railroad, New York City Subway, and New Jersey Transit riders and commuters who use it. For more than 25 years, Regional Plan Association has voiced strong support for overhauling Penn Station and building the gateway tunnels under the Hudson River as part of a comprehensive plan to improve connectivity through the city and across the tri-state metropolitan region. This is the most urgently needed infrastructure project in the nation, impacting 20% of our gross national product. As our study of preventable crisis pointed out, a disruption in just one of the tunnels would cost our economy $16 billion and worsen the commutes for over 500,000 daily commuters. It's no wonder that our residents in our region strongly support this. In a recent poll that we conducted at RPA, over 80% of them identified fixing Penn Station as a high priority. I think the day after an election, we should point out that there are very few things that many people agree on. For the last couple months, I've been part of a working group of terrific elected leaders, civic groups, business organizations, public agencies looking at this issue, and we've learned many things through this process. And I think really, for me, the most important thing that we've learned is that it can be done. There is a solution to this, and we can do it. We need a renovated Penn Station with wide concourses, high ceilings, clear daylight, and effective wayfinding that connects to public transit and to the public realm. This will be part of, eventually, an expanded Penn Station with new tracks and platforms, and yes, a gateway project with new tunnels under the Hudson River. We need all these plans to be coordinated and integrated to leverage each investment. And we need a plan that integrates them and creates this mixed-use community that you've talked about for future generations, a livable community. Your leadership on this issue, and especially your commitment to expediting and fixing Penn Station, is precisely what we need at this time. So we see this as a win-win-win, and I want to congratulate you and thank you for this leadership. Thank you, Governor.
Thank you, Tom. And I also want to take this moment to introduce Jana Lieber, who has been an amazing partner of mine. We've worked together intensely since I became governor just a little over 2 months ago. A lot of meetings together, but a shared vision for making New York City a place that we're all proud of and making sure all of our transit facilities are spectacular. So I want to thank you and your entire team who've worked tirelessly. Once I said, I don't like this plan the way it is, I want to turn it upside down. You just jumped on this. This has been your vision for a long time as well. So ladies and gentlemen, I present Jana Lieber.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you, Governor, and thank you, Tom, for your words. Folks, the time is now to revive Penn Station, the most reviled transportation facility in the country. Its bad reputation literally goes back decades, back to the current incarnations beginning in the late 1960s. The New York Times had it in an editorial they wrote in 2017, which actually captures what many people think. Quoting the Times, "It's a subterranean station that's already one of the most claustrophobic, confusing, and spirit-throttling places in the city. There's no disputing that Penn Station is broken. The question is, who is going to fix it?" Unquote. I think that question's been answered today. Kathy Hochul's going to fix it. We have a rare opportunity, a window of opportunity to get the job done now. And here's why. Moynihan Train Hall is open, and Amtrak has moved its operation out of existing Penn. East Side Access, the governor referenced our inaugural ride with passengers just last weekend, is getting close to completion. That is going to allow 40 to 50% of Long Island Railroad customers to move out of Penn across to Grand Central. It's going to create some space, which of course I think of as space to do real construction. We're about to start the project that will bring Metro North riders from the Bronx and Westchester into Penn, That's a couple years off. This is a window of opportunity. We need to get it done in this window. And by the way, not to forget, New Jersey Transit is saying that their ridership is going to double. So we got to get this done. We can't let the moment slip by. The MTA has already been working to Penn. Many of you have seen the new entrance that we built on 7th Avenue. For the first time in decades, people can actually figure out where Penn Station is from 7th Avenue. And we're working on widening that Long Island Railroad concourse. It's an area of Penn that we can get done only because it's under a city street. We don't have that second level above. We're raising the ceiling, we're doubling the width of the concourse. But Governor Hochul's plan, which will transform the entire station, is a game changer. Track expansion, which is part of Gateway, is coming. There's no reason we can't, in the meantime, change the Penn experience for the better, for Long Islanders, for New Yorkers, for New Jerseyans, and eventually for Connecticut customers as well. It's urgent. The two subway stations at Penn, the 7th and 8th Avenue line, together form a complex that is the second busiest complex in the subway system in New York, on top of all those commuters. And the number of people who are going to use this station, as Governor Hochul mentioned, that 890,000 number that's coming, that's the number of people who live in the city of San Francisco, the entire population. We have to fix this. We need to heed Governor Hochul's call to move more quickly, to take advantage of this window of opportunity. We are ready to listen, to take action, Governor Hochul. Thank you for your leadership.
Thank you. That concludes this presentation, but I tell you, we are already on a fast track. And the reason we wanted to get the support of the community now is that there's literally a meeting on December 8th to consider the GPP. So we have a 30-day public comment window initially. I really want to get this going. This is not something that's going to linger a long time. And we'll come back and answer a couple questions, but I just spoke to the governor of New Jersey. He and I will work out many, many details, but I expressed my commitment as well to making sure that the gateway tunnels occur. But before they come and bring thousands more people in, this is our chance to get this done first to create the capacity. This should have been the most logical way to do this all along. It just wasn't. And the thought when I first took office to say, we'll do the tunnel first and the expansion around, and around 2035, we'll start talking about inside Penn Station, that just did not work for me. I said, that is not fair to the New Yorkers, the majority of whom use this. So that is the rethinking in the timetable, but all the above will be accomplished, and we can do it simultaneously. That's what I find exciting. So thank you for joining us today. We'll be back in a couple minutes to answer some questions. So are all the transit reporters in the room really excited about this? Isn't this what you live for? It's what I live for. I don't know. Thank you for joining us, and we'll be happy to take any questions you have, and I have my partners here to help as well. So, yes.
Governor, does this plan still, or do you still plan as a part of this vision to seize and raise a block south of Penn Station in order to expand it? Is that still in the cards?
The 780 block, is that what it is? The 780 block. We will still need that to help us create the opportunity for the development above the tracks that'll help finance the project. So yes, that is going to occur. Not to the scale it was before. We don't have to do it that big. We scaled back by 1.4 million square feet in order to allow us to have about 8 acres of public space as well. So we prioritize public space and creating the shared roads with the pedestrians and bikes and limited use for vehicles. So we are reconfiguring it, but yes, there will be a need for that as well.
And then along those lines, in this plan, does this still leave open the opportunity for the potential to through-run service, LIRRNJ Transit, between Penn Station? Not
Yes,
maybe
it
the
does.
terminal? Okay.
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And is that something that you see is feasibly possible, and what has blocked that in the past?
I believe everything is possible. That's why I'm standing here today.
I think, Clayton, I think you know that the way that the design that has been done so far is configured is it's designed to make sure we can get under the 6th Avenue subway, which is the engineering constraint, that in future you could have additional through running would require, it would require building additional tunnels between, across the East River, but very much committed to additional through running as an option.
Next question?
This might be more for Jenna, but Jenna, why can't you do through running with the existing Penn Station as opposed to spending a bunch of money to, eminent domain 780, build a whole McGill over there? Is there a reason that can't be done?
What I think Dave, I think what you heard from the governor today is not, the question you're asking is about the future of the gateway expansion, right, and the additional service. What you heard from the governor today is the users of existing Penn, Long Island Railroad, all the people who use the existing East River tunnel system, even within the constraints we operate in today, need a proper station. They need a proper facility, a first-class, world-class facility, as she said. So the question you're raising has to do with the configuration of what will be the gateway expansion and how it will work. That is still being studied, but what the governor has set forth today is, while that's all being studied and figured out, including the answers to your questions and somewhat Clayton's, we need to get going, use this window to rebuild existing Penn Station, to transform it. We can't wait. That's the message.
So is rebuilding existing Penn Station involving knocking down 780 to expand, or is it not?
We can work on the interior of Penn Station without having to knock that down simultaneously, but I believe that it makes more sense in terms of disruption to the community. I've been involved in projects all over the state, and what people don't like is sequencing, where they start with part of it and then they finish that, then they do another part, another part. That is disruptive to the commuters, the whole rider experience, as well as the neighborhood. So we believe that these can be done on different tracks because they require different approvals. Some require the city. We're going to need some federal government. We're going to need New Jersey on board. We're going to work on all these approvals, but we can do it simultaneously. We can absolutely do that. It does not have to be the scale that was originally proposed, is the point I'm making today. We don't need to do all that because that's a larger disruption. The community did not get behind that plan, which caught my attention because this is about what the neighborhood wants as well. That's why we scaled it in a way that will have the revenues necessary to fund what we have to do without being any larger than necessary.
I wanted to ask two questions. Do you have a groundbreaking date you're aiming for with this project? And then secondly, you mentioned that you like benches. If I look at all the renderings of the insides, there's no seating as far as I can see. One of the big issues with Moynihan is that people end up sitting on the floor all over the place. Are we going to make the same mistake again with this station?
We'll look at the configuration. What we are inviting are a lot more people to be, when this is all completed, and we have nearly 900,000 people a day coming through there. We have to make sure that we don't have areas where people are tripping over benches. I mean, it has to be done in a smart way. Because we are going to have far more people coming through, far more trains, and that's why we're trying to make these corridors much wider. So I was referring to benches outdoors. I'm a big fan of people being able to ride their bike, sit down, have a cup of coffee, take a break. But we can look at it inside, but I also know that we need to keep the flow of people moving quickly as well. A lot of people aren't going to be hanging out in a train station. And that's why even the second floor, people are saying, well, if you kept the second floor, you could have all kinds of shopping up there. I think that's a disconnect from reality. I mean, people aren't going to go to a train station to do, do their holiday shopping or buy a fancy purse. They want to get their newspaper if they're not reading it on their iPad, grab a cup of coffee, and get out of there as quickly as possible. So that allows us to have this reimagining of the upstairs space and doing things a lot smarter. So these are preliminary design plans. I want you to know that. This is conceptual renderings early. I'll be very involved in this. I've got my hands in a lot of projects throughout the state. I've changed. I support this. But I also have some vision as well to make sure that we have the most expansive look at the sky possible. Train station that was proposed in Buffalo, for example, I turned the whole thing around. I'm not going to do that to you, I promise, because I don't want to delay this. But I have a very strong concept of design myself, and I have a good sense of what fits into a community as well as involving the community and what they want this to look like as well.
With the groundbreaking, do you have any?
I don't think we said it. I just wanted to get this moving. I was so excited just to launch this and get the community participation. Groundbreaking. I just had a shovel in my hand and Ronkonkoma a hug this morning, so I have no shortage of shovels. Do we have a date at all? No, I'm
Depends on
Yeah.
what kinds of variables.
Yeah, we have a few variables. I want to lock in the financing. But again, what this does in my administration, how we're approaching major projects like this, it is very collaborative. This is not us against New Jersey. It's not us against Amtrak. It is bringing people together. I've already had conversations with everybody from the governor, New Jersey, to Tony at Amtrak and working with him. We can get this done in a way that everyone succeeds. No one feels that they've been pushed or bullied into a position. There's no one backed into corners, because then we lose time. As I said earlier, we have a price tag today, but as more time goes on, that price tag gets higher. And that's the scenario I do not want to have for our taxpayers. They're paying more because their government leaders couldn't figure this out. I'll be able to figure this out. I know how to get deals done, and I'm very excited about that. So we'll let you know first, because you asked first about the date. But I'm very excited about this, hopefully sooner than later.
Governor, you just addressed it. The New York Times is not the only New York newspaper or anyone else to observe Penn Station as a problem, but it all goes back to the landlord. We're complaining about a rental property which is in terrible shape. The landlord is Amtrak. When you spoke to Tony Kosha, as you just said, is he willing to do this? Is he resistant? Is he willing to pay? If he doesn't agree, are you just going to find a way to do it? And when you spoke to Phil Murphy, I assume he's still governor today, but is he willing to pay 25%? These plans were similarly presented by your predecessor several times. Maybe not to the level of detail. There was one right before the pandemic, his State of the State last year. Now you want to get it done, but Tony Kosha's not here. Phil Murphy is, I guess, counting votes, but are they with you on this to do it and on the financing?
I have had the necessary conversations to let them know my priorities. They are shared priorities. I mean, the governor of New Jersey also understands that a very high percentage of 40% of the people coming through here are his own constituents, and they deserve a better experience. They're getting a good experience. We're going to do the bus station over. They have the Oculus. They have other points of entry, Moynihan, that they enjoy now, but many of them also come through Penn Station. We're going to make this better for them as well as creating the gateway. The governor of New Jersey, and he can speak for himself, wants to make sure that we don't sidetrack the Gateway Tunnel. I have committed that this is not an either-or proposition. I think that was the thought in the past administration. I'm an all-the-above approach. I can walk and chew gum at the same time very effectively. That's what I'm seeing here. It's simpler than people are making it. Amtrak, I sat down with Tony. We had a very positive conversation. He understands my vision. I believe he'll be on board. Do we have the dollar amount worked out? No, but the cost sharing that was in place for Gateway, 50% federal. I know Senator Schumer is very interested in this project as well. 50% federal, 25 New Jersey, 25 New York. We can get this done.
Let's go to Zoom.
Governor, we're going to take some questions over Zoom now. Your first question comes this afternoon from David Meyer of the New York Post. David, your mic is open.
Good afternoon, Governor. Just given what we know about where post-COVID office trends are going, and the fact that I believe, expect less people to be working in offices, when we return to some semblance of normal in the coming months and years, why are we building more office space in Manhattan and not investing in residential space? I know that there is some residential space here, but it's still mostly an office project. I'm wondering if you've thought about that at all.
No, I have, and we've also, a few thoughts on this, David. One is that we are adding affordable housing that was not part of the earlier plans, because we do have an affordable housing crisis in the city, and we're going to be having over 1,800 units, 540 affordable. So that's a difference. So it won't be all office space. There'll be some opportunity for retail. But I also think that we're in a temporarily suppressed era. I do believe when I see people at gatherings, people are very anxious to get back together again. They want to make sure that this pandemic is behind us. There will be a time when we declare this pandemic is behind us. People will be getting a COVID shot every year with their flu shot to make sure that we don't ever end up in this situation again. We'll get to a time where little kids don't have to wear masks in schools. We're going to get to a time when people do want to congregate in person again. It may not be 5 days a week. There may be accommodations and flexibility for people to have a few days working remotely, especially for women who are taking care of kids. I do hope that happens. But I believe, and I've spoken to so many people in the real estate industry, they're very optimistic about the future. They know that there are people from all over this country, especially in the tech space. I mean, look at the west side of Manhattan. All the technology companies, the big ones who are building there, want to be there in this space. They are sensing that there's a new era of opportunity here in the city of New York, that the jobs of the future are going to be filled by smart New Yorkers who want to congregate together, and they're going to want to congregate in magnificent office space with more amenities than they ever had before. So these new buildings will meet that need and to help be a catalyst for how we enter the new future. So I don't think I think in fact, the fact that this is going to take a few years, this office space will not be there next year. It's going to be years down the road, and by the time the office space is done, people will be back, so the timing will actually work out perfectly, which is why I'm so anxious to get this started.
Governor, your next question comes from Danielle Dunn of Politico New York. Danielle, your mic is open.
Hi, Governor. Actually, David took a little bit of the wind out of my sails there, but I did want to build off that because on one level, you're saying you think that this this office, the lapse of workers going to office will be temporary, but at the same time, MTA itself is saying they don't expect commuter rail ridership recovery, ridership to ever fully recover to pre-pandemic levels. And you're acknowledging that workers probably aren't going to go in every day. Is this really the best way to ensure you can fund these renovations?
Well, when we get the Gateway Tunnel done, the numbers are still going to be very high in terms of more people coming. Right now, it's beyond capacity. You either look at photos, you go down there yourself. It is hellacious. It's crowded. It's disgusting. It's depressing. I don't want to stop you from going there because I still want people to go to Penn Station. So it's not quite that bad, but we all know what it's like. You don't even want to look up. You're just looking down. You're shuffling your feet like, get me out of here. I've been there. When people have a different experience with their commute, I believe that this is one step toward changing the psychology of New Yorkers. We've been beaten down very hard during this pandemic. We all know someone we lost. We've all experienced the sounds of sirens nonstop. It was gut-wrenching. It was soul-sucking experience. And people need to have hope. They need to see that there are people with vision who have powered through this pandemic, who kept the great ideas, who kept their teams working day and night to come up with something so New Yorkers will get that sense of exceptionalism again. I want that to be how people feel about their city and their entire state. And projects like this, to get it started, they can see the vision with the renderings, but when this is actually open, it'll continue to establish New York City as the preeminent place to visit and to live on this planet. So I'm not going to play small ball here. This requires bold vision, and that's what I'm delivering. And to even think that because there won't be quite as many commuters in the future, or even now, that the people who are there now deserve this fourth world experience, I don't think that's fair to the people who use this every day now. They're still coming in every day. People there this morning, people going home tonight, have a bad experience. They're New Yorkers. They deserve better. One question.
Governor, your last question on Zoom comes from Katie Brenzel of The Real Deal. Katie, your mic is open.
Hi, thank you very much. I was wondering to what extent the development planned for around Penn Station, not just the block south, will pay for the development project you were discussing today.
Do we have an exact amount on what that'll come up to? Because we did scale it back. We also know the cost is about $6 to $7 billion, but that's over 30 years. I'm always one who likes to calculate what the cost is per New Yorker per event. So I've not done this for this one.
If it's $6 billion, it's $1.5 billion to New York under your formula,
Yeah.
and it seems that the team does have confidence that the real estate can generate that. For this project.
$1.5 billion we have to generate. In some communities, that sounds astronomical. In New York City, it's a daily occurrence.
Governor, hello, thank you. So much of this plan does sound very much like your predecessor's plan. It's 10 buildings, 540 units of affordable housing. That was in the plan before, and many members of the community, which you said you're very concerned about, were concerned that they want more affordable housing. 10 buildings is too many, because you already have a Hudson Yards nearby that's near vacant and desolate. They don't want that in Midtown. So how is your plan so much different than the plan before? And how are you going to please the community if those were their concerns before?
Well, we added 8 acres of public space, and I think that was important. You know, we need to show people open space, a place that people can congregate without brushing elbows with everybody going down the street, having the shared street experience where it's not just roads, but it's also an area for drop-off and pedestrian and bike access. It's about getting the trucks off the roads as well, making the trucks come indoors. It's about just creating, and what was missing from the last plan was the entire vision for Penn Station itself. That's the huge difference. That's what I'm trying to rectify, and that's what I will rectify. This will be transformative for the people who go inside that building. That's what excites me. Also,
Do it if Amtrak doesn't want to agree.
Amtrak will agree. All right, thank you, everybody.